Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. So excited to be here on this last Monday of the year. Hope everybody had an amazing Christmas and you're excited about the new year. So, today we're going to learn how to take control of our finances. And we're going to do a quick money review. Most people have no idea what that is. If you're chiming in live or you're chiming in on the replay and you have no idea what an annual money review is, say, I have no idea in the comments. But today, I want to talk to you about something. I've been doing this for years and never really gave it a definition. But around this time of year, mid-November, mid-November, early December timeframe, I literally take a look at my finances for the year. And that means I pull my credit card statements, I pull my bank statements, I pull everything and I pull it into an Excel file and I take a look at where I spent money. And you're like, why would you want to do that? Because that could be stressful for some people and that could be depressing in some cases, or it could be very exciting, right? But how would if you've reached your goal by never evaluating? It's like if you were going to the gym to work out and your goal was to lose 20 pounds and you never weighed yourself, how would you know if you've achieved the goal? It's the same thing with your money. If you made a goal in January or December or whenever you set goals for yourself, and your goal was to say put $10,000 aside for retirement in a variety of financial vehicles, but you never actually look and see if you hit that goal, then how would you know how you're doing? Or if you set a goal to pay off one or two credit cards, if you never looked at the statement to see if it's paid off, how would you know? And it's the same thing with our money. So if you're making a certain amount of money annually, you should be taking a look at it. And this becomes helpful too because I have a lot of clients they work full time and they have a regular income. And then I have clients who they are like gig workers and they work off and on. They're entrepreneurs and their income is not steady. But if you know annually about what you bring in, you can plan annually so that will then back you into your regular plan for the year. So I've just oversimplified it, but we're going to dig a little deep tonight. So we might be on here for a few minutes, but let's do this. I don't want to go too much further because I want you to know your weekly affirmation for this week. Weekly money affirmation is I am the master of my money. Just, if you're here live, say I'm the master of my money, because if you don't own that, you'll never be the master of it. Someone else will be. So let's talk about this review. So first tip. If you're scared, if you're like, I don't really want to see what I spent all my money on, I don't want to know what I did, let me just tell you my little secret. I've been doing this so long that I looked at it and I kind of yell at myself sometimes because I think last year I looked. And the one thing that stuck out for me, it wasn't the big expense for the year, but I had spent like $800 at Chick-fil-A. Now, I have nothing against Chick-fil-A. If you don't live in the area that has a Chick-fil-A, when you see one, have a sandwich, but don't spend $800 like I did, right, for that year. Well, essentially, that means that I didn't plan well enough for my week-to-week activities that I was eating fast food. And not only did I do that, but I did it so often that I was spending at least $20 to $40 a week, if you think about it, at Chick-fil-A, because it's not that expensive. Even with inflation, you're still going to get out of there between $15 and $20, right? A lot of money, but it used to be less. But it essentially, when you start to divide it up, it's like, man, was I going that often? And to me, it signaled a sign for me that I needed to take more action in my life to be prepared so that I didn't end up there, right? Now, we're not going to talk about how great the sauces are and all that other stuff. There's a solution for that too. They sell the sauce at the grocery store, so I can make my own chicken better, and I don't even have to get in the drive-thru, right? But I also can plan my meals because I want to spend that $800 differently. I'm not saying don't ever eat fast food. What I'm saying is think about how you're spending your money. And that's what a money review was able to allow me to do, because I said, I'd rather spend $800 towards planning for a trip somewhere I wanted to go. I'd rather spend $800 in my savings account. I'd rather spend $800 in some of my strategic investment accounts and some of the funds and things that I know that I want to do to grow my money, because $800 or $20 every time you go is not a big deal. But every millionaire made their $1,000,000 $1 at a time. So if you think about every dollar having the potential to have have babies, and those babies can equal to $1,000,000, then you probably need to think about your money a little bit differently, right? So set some time aside in this next week to really take a look. And so if you're like, oh my God, it's too much, Saran, I'm scared. Pick one account. Pick your checking account, the one you use the most or the one attached to your debit card, and just take a look. Go to your bank. Most banks allow you to download what they call a CSV file, which is a fancy version of an Excel file. And you can just sort it by who you spent money with and take a quick look at what it is. Nobody's asking you to become an Excel wizard, but you can take a quick look. Now, there are some apps and softwares and different things that you can go and upload this information to give you pretty little charts and all that. But I'm not suggesting that you spend money to do this if you're just trying it out. But just take a quick look and find one area, one bucket that you didn't realize you were spending so much money in, and decide to redirect it for next year. So the next 7 days before you come back and see me next Monday, decide how you want to do it. For some people, it might be Cash App. For some people, it might be PayPal. For some people, it might be their checking account. For some people, it might be their credit card. They may be one of the folks who use their credit cards a lot because they want to develop points. Get the points, but think about still how you're spending your money. So set aside some time to do that. Even if it's an hour or 90 minutes, you owe it to yourself to really take some time to look at how you spent your money. And if you have children, this is a good time for you too to start to take a look at it with them. And, look at their savings account, show them different things. Because as we learn about money and unlearn about money, we should be doing different things with our kids to show them differently so they don't end up with the same type of challenges that maybe we had coming into our financial lives, right? So after you pull that little list and you're like, oh my God, this is what I spent my money on. Take a deep breath, grab a beverage if you need one, whatever kind of beverage you need to get through the rest. But then just take stock of what that is. And if you're a goal setter, compare that against what your goals were for the year. What goals did you set for yourself financially that year? And how did the money you spent help you reach that goal? Right? And you're probably like, why would I have goals for my money? I have goals for everything else, and money pays for things, right? And at the end of the day, if you think about money in its true sense, that money is basically your energy, because you either worked for it at a job or you produce some type of product or service in your business in exchange for that money in order for you to buy stuff. And you can include everything in stuff, where you live, what you drive, the shoes you wear, everything, right? But you've exchanged basically your life's energy, or selling a product or doing something in exchange for the money. And so now you have it. It's up to you to decide how it goes. So why not give your money a goal, right? My goal is for all my money to have babies, like lots of babies. But in order to do that, you have to really set a time and set a place and set it up so that those dollars can become hundreds and thousands and millions, right? So if you're not sure, use the SMART goal formula, right? If you've never heard of SMART goals in 2023, maybe you just fell off a truck and never heard of it, but I'll tell you what it means. You want it to be specific. You want it to be measurable. You want it to be actionable. You want it to be reasonable and reachable. And you want it to be timely. You want to give it a time frame. You want to give your money a time frame. So I'll give you an example. So for me, while I do finances, that's like saying, I'm an electrician, right? Well, what part of electrician? What kind of electricity do you do? Do you do this? You do that? It's so specific, right? Although I'm in finance and in the financial industry, I'm not an expert at everything, but there are areas that I'm interested in. So I've already set a financial goal for myself for 2023 that within the first 6 months, I want to own 25 specific stocks because that's an area of growth for me, right? I want to own some shares in 25 specific stocks. I've already got them on my watch list. In my investment account, I already know what they are. I knew 2 weeks ago what they were, but that means that I have to now redirect money to that plan because now when I'm doing things, I'm thinking, should I have bought coffee at Dunkin' Donuts or should I have bought stock? Just saying. Right? Can't buy stock. You can't buy stock in Starbucks because they're private. But just thinking about things a little bit differently, for me, that's my goal. My goal is to own these 25 stocks. I would like to own 100 shares of all 25 of these stocks, but that would mean I would have to eat rice and beans for a little while or go make a lot of money doing something else. But I can do both, right? And so the thing is, but I know that that's my goal. Now, whether I reach it or not, even if I end up with one share of all of those, because that's my financial goal, then I will have met my goal. But that's because it's specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's reasonable and reachable, and it has a time limit. And that's what you want to do with your money. If you're someone who's in debt and you say, I really need help, I'm in a lot of debt. I got my mortgage, I got my car note, I got student loans still lingering around, and I don't qualify for none of those fancy programs they're throwing around. So I won't get any of that forgiveness or whatever. And then you happen to have some credit cards too, and nobody where your kid's about to go to college. You're trying to figure out your debt. Well, you might need a little bit more help. So you may want to consult with someone like me to help you put together a plan for debt elimination. But it's important to really think about it that way. So let's get back to the review. So set goals. And after you set the goals, at your accounts, take stock, right? And then look at the purchases. Look at any large purchases that you made last year. Now, depending on who you are, your large purchases will be different. Depending on the type of lifestyle that you have, your large purchases will be different. This isn't about making everyone's lifestyle the same. This is about making your lifestyle work with your money, right? And you maximizing it. For someone whose lifestyle is to travel, their large expenses may all be related to travel. For someone who is maybe a fashionista and they really like fashion, their large purchases may all be related to fashion. It may be nice handbags and shoes and purses and belts and outfits. It may be the higher end. That may be their larger purchase. Someone who's into electronics and digital things, their purchases may be in that area. Or someone who just has a whole lot of kids and just trying to figure out how to do everything, you might look and see most of your expenses had to do with the kids, right? So, but figuring that out now will allow you to then say, is that what I wanted to do with my funds? And redirect and rethink about it, right? Most people, and I talk about budgets too, most people always talk about you need a budget. And a budget just sounds so daunting and so restrictive, right? Well, what I really want you to think about is what is your spend plan for 2023? Probably like, what's a spend plan? It's like a budget in reverse, right? So you basically say, I make X amount of dollars every year. I always use round numbers. So like, I make $100,000. You say, I make $100,000 a year. I make $50,000 a year, or whatever your number is. You fill in the blank. I make this amount a year. I want to do at least 10,000 to my retirement account. So subtract 10,000. And then you want to do X amount towards maybe you want to do X amount towards your kids' college planning. Then maybe you want to do X amount towards household costs, utilities, mortgage, rent, things like that, right? You want to make sure you have that. You want to account for those because it'd be good to still live indoors and have lights and running water and stuff like that, while you're planning for everything else. But you want to make that plan. Or maybe you're a giver. Maybe you're someone who's very who's very active in your church or your religious organization, and you do give 10%. go ahead and allocate those things. Nothing's off limits from the spend plan, because what you're saying is you're planning for the year how you want to spend your money. And then once you kind of plan for the year how you want to spend your money, then you're going to back that into what does that look like for you on a budgetary basis based on how you get paid. Most of us do it in reverse. Most of us get our bi-weekly, weekly, or monthly paycheck, and we decide how we want to spend it when we get it then. But if you take it annually, you'll see a different picture of your money, because you'll realize maybe I had more money than I thought, right? Now, don't get me wrong, whatever amount of money you make annually, you want to go figure out your marginal tax brackets and about how much of that in tax you'll get. That'll be another video on how to kind of break that down, because it is not as simple or straightforward as you think. If you say, oh, I'm in a 26% tax bracket, that's not how it works. But you want to, go ahead and account for that. Or maybe you park at your job and it's not an expense you can avoid, and that's going to cost you $2,000 a year. Have that planned out for yourself so that you can set things up appropriately. Sometimes, and a lot of experts say, and including me, is when you have these larger expenses, once you've done your spend plan, then maybe you want to start different accounts to direct that money there. So that way, boom, I allocated $2,000 for parking, and that's my parking account, and I'm not going to spend my parking money because that's my parking money for the year. So even if I have extra money in there, that's not where don't want to spend it, because I know I need that throughout the rest of the year, right? Especially for those people who may be on a biweekly pay period where you'll get an extra paycheck 2 times a year, right? So think about that. And then if you once you kind of broken down your spend plan and you've kind of gotten down to zero, if you will, you don't have to spend it down to zero. You can have excess. Then let's say, hey, what are we going to do with the excess? How do we want to do some investing? Do we want to take a vacation with the kids? What do we want to do? What is your why? Maybe you want to be able to one day have enough money saved or set aside that maybe in the next 24 months you can take your whole family on a vacation and nobody have to worry about anything. You just take care of it. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Or maybe you want to be the one to host the big holiday at, a fancy Airbnb for the week and nobody have to pay for anything. What does that mean? How does that look in your spend plan? And I always say these they're not small, I always say these other ancillary things, because having money and making money is not just about getting by. It is about enjoying life, right? And one of the things, and I posted this on my Facebook probably about 2 weeks ago, just imagine if this life that we're living were like the game Monopoly. How many of you love Monopoly? I love Monopoly. I actually have Game of Thrones Monopoly, which is cool because I actually get to buy everything. That's all Game of Thrones on the Monopoly board, so it's cool. And I have a regular Monopoly. But just imagine if you were playing Monopoly and you never bought any property, you never bought any hotels, you never owned any of the utilities, any of the railroads, you never owned anything. All you did was go around the board, collect $200, and try to stay out of jail. Could you imagine? But that's how people are living. We're just going to work every week and every 2 weeks collecting the paycheck and just trying to stay out of jail, right? Because anybody's subject to it. You could be driving wrong and something go bad. But the thing is how can you play the game on Monopoly and never actually get in the game and never actually buy any assets? And yeah, you're still picking up the chance card and you're still picking up those other cards that have all these extra bills and all these extra issues and all that. And in real life, there's no get out of jail free card, right? So the thing is don't play the game to where you're losing or you're just on the hamster wheel going around the board every 2 weeks collecting $200 and you're never gaining any money because you never bought any assets. And that's where the spend plan comes in, because you can decide what kind of assets you want to buy for that year. And if you need help, that's what I'm here for. Set up an appointment, go to saran10k.com and we can set up time and I'll help you. But the thing is that you have to decide that that's what you want to do. Even if you just start buying assets at $50 to $100 a month, you still have to find a way to buy assets. Otherwise, you're just playing Monopoly and going around the board collecting $200 and paying everybody else rent. and riding everybody else's train and using everybody else's utilities and using everybody else's benefits. And so with that, let's just go back. Let's recap. What we're going to do, we're going to pull our statements, pull that CSV file, go search around that bank statement. If you got Wells Fargo, most of the major banks, Bank of America, PNC, TD Bank, most of them will allow you to download an Excel spreadsheet for 12 months from January 1, 2022 to the current date. And you have till Sunday, just 12/31, to pull it and take a look, right? Take a look at what you bought. And oh, by the way, Amazon's my favorite place, but pull your Amazon statement too. You can go in there and pull a statement and see what you spent your money on. Because a lot of times we buy that stuff and this little stuff and it just kind of gets absorbed in the community of your home. And you're like, you don't even realize you bought it, or you bought stuff and you never returned it. And those things add up. Look at it and decide if that's what it is. Because here's the thing. It is not set up for us to win. The way things are set up with social media, all platforms, the way things are set up with email and email marketing, the way things are set up with television and radio and all the mediums that reach out to us, is to create an environment where we click and buy before we think. And it looks so pretty and shiny. And before we've even thought about it, calculated, looked at our numbers, considered it, we've hit buy, and now we have it. And that's exactly what the marketers want us to do. They take time after time to study each one of us. And that's why every ad you see, and this is a little dirty little secret, because every ad you see on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, all these other places, they've studied you. They know what you want. They know your needs. They know your wants, your needs, your fears. The things that you're really trying to accomplish, and they target that information towards you. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that's what's happening. Some of it may be not so good. Some of it may be good. The difference is going to be you and how you receive it. What is the information doing for you, or what is that product or service doing for you, right? You ever notice when, and our devices are listening to us, ever notice when you start talking about something, next thing you know, you got an ad for it? Well, there's that. So, so there are things that are set up for us to buy before we think. And what I'm asking you to do is take a look at what you bought, maybe consciously or unconsciously, or very quickly, or in the moment, or emotionally, or you're emotionally sad, or really happy, or you got real hyped up by, an amazing commercial with amazing information. And then think about, does this really apply to me, right? And you bought it. Even our television ads. I'm going to tell you a funny story and then I'm going to go. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he passed away about 10, 11 years ago. And he had to be 75 or whatever it is at the time. And I went to his house in New York for a holiday. And he's like, hey, I want you to put this thing together for me. I'm like, okay. He's like, hey, he always would say, hey, kid, I want you to put this thing together. I'm like, all right, what you want to put together? So cool, show it to me. So I go back to his room, give it to him, and he gives me this box. He's like, I want you to put this together for me. I need it. And I'm like, all right. So I'm taking it out. So I said, Grandpappy, this is an ab circle. What are you going to do with this? He's like, I need it. I said, for what? Right? He's like, oh, shut up, kid. Just do what I told you to do. Cut your, just stop it. So I'm like, all right. Now, mind you, my grandfather's 75 years old. He, he's an old country boy from down North Carolina. So he's got a little bit of loving in the front, right? A little bit more than maybe ab circle was going to help him with. But I realized he bought it in the middle of the night from an infomercial. And he watched the infomercial so long that he bought this ab circle. Notwithstanding the fact that his knees didn't really work at 75. He had trouble with his knees because of arthritis. But he bought this ab circle because some professional on television sold it to him in the middle of the night. And so the thing is that it wasn't a bad idea. And it's a running joke in my family because I took his picture and I sent it to everybody and said, look, this is Grandpappy before ab circle. And this is Grandpappy after ab circle. And it was the same picture because he was never going to be able to use it. And I tell that story because how many things Did you listen to the commercial just long enough or too long that you convinced yourself that you can buy, or just short enough, or whatever it is, and you bought it and you still own it and you never used it? This is why the money review is important. Now, I'm saying annually, but the thing is, you can do this every quarter. You can do this every 13 weeks. Every quarter has 13 weeks, regardless of the months of, of the year. There's 13 weeks in every quarter. You can do this every 13 weeks to take a look at where you are. Are you reaching your goal so that you have somewhere to be? Not trying to stress you out. No, you don't want to look at it every week. You don't want to look at it every day. But 13 weeks, take a look. Do a little quick annual review. See what's going on. Even with your utilities, take a look. See how much you're using. Is there something wrong? Maybe you might find a short. Maybe you might find a leak, especially with water bills. I know I didn't realize one of my toilets in my house was leaking last year, and my water bill was through the roof. Well, I replaced the toilet, and the water bill went down like 3 times. So the thing is that it's taking a look at these things. If you never take a look at it and you just constantly pay them, then you're not able to redirect and course correct, or keep going. If your GPS is directing you to go drive off of a bridge, are you going to keep following GPS, or are you going to course correct? And that's what I'm trying to get you do with your finances. So that's all I have for tonight. Be sure to go to saranbaker.co and download your free The Ultimate Vision and Manifestation Journal to help you get started with 2023, get you on the right track with your health, wealth, finance, physical, everything is in there to help you. And it's all free. And I will see you next Monday. Well, next year. Next Monday is next year. I'll see you then. But take a look at this money review. Tell me how you feel about the money review. Drop me a comment. Drop me a DM. Send me a text if you have my number. A lot of people do have my number. Drop me a text. Let me know how you feel about the money review. And if you need help, do not hesitate to just book an appointment. And we can sit down for 20 or 30 minutes and get you on the right track. Anyway, that's all I have. And I will see you on the other side. Peace, everyone.